Are we on the right track?
You know what I think is different? I think what he has is the benefit of the experience of the past attempts at making peace in the Middle East. That's what he has, for sure. I mean, style is always, an integral part of the equation, certainly. But the substance of it, I believe, and what I believe is driving it, certainly I like to believe this, is the benefit of experience of nearly 16 years of trying to do this unsuccessfully. And I say this analytically, and I say this because of what I perceive to be as a matter of very sharp focus on what I call elements of success, rather than just only the grand picture of getting there.
So building more from the ground up.
Right. What needs to happen? I mean, as one of my professors in economics was fond of saying, you need to have potatoes to make potato chips. And really...
So what are those potatoes from a Palestinian point of view?
The potatoes from the Palestinian point of view are the institutions capable of delivering good governance to the Palestinian people. The institutions of the Palestinian state in the making.
Be specific. Which ones that you think are important?
Security, law and order, justice, public finance, economic management, welfare, all of the functions that any responsible state should feel obligated to provide, to deliver to its citizens. In all spheres of governance. This is about building towards statehood. I mean, this is what I view our key obligation as being. One of really actually preparing for that day when we are really on our own. Only if we can get there.
So if you have
that's what we really want.
You'd have the institutions, and you just need the borders, in a sense.
Definitely. I tell you what drives me personally, what conditions my thinking about all of this, and it really started long before I became prime minister. In fact, when I joined the PI as treasurer, as a finance minister, I mean, let's do all of those things. People were saying at the time, the Americans, the international community, after the roadmap, the quartet, they want these reforms, they want the PA to do all of these things. And my message all along to people was, the world wants us to have a good public finance system, but is that against our interest? What's wrong with that? Let's do that. I mean, we need to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, every time we, take a step in the direction of having a function of a state performed competently, it means a great deal to us, and to me personally, for sure. It should mean the same thing to any official anywhere in the world. But to us Palestinians, it means a lot more. Because with every step that we take in the direction of institution building, that's a step closer toward freedom, toward statehood. That's what it is about. So therefore, that's what really drives this process. These happen to be our potatoes, so to speak. These happen to be our obligations under the roadmap. Roadmap is about security, is about security for Israel, but it's about security for Palestinians. It's about governance. It's about enhancing, ensuring capacity of Palestinian people to govern themselves in all facets and spheres of governance, including security. That's what this is about, and that's why we took it upon ourselves, particularly after what happened to us in mid-2007 with the fall of Gaza to Hamas, with the West Bank at the time being under such a state of complete and utter lawlessness. We took it upon ourselves to really actually be serious about state building, get people to rally around the cause of state building indeed. If this is about statehood, then let us build toward it. I do not need anyone to remind me that we are doing it under occupation. I know that. But we are doing it because we are under occupation, in spite of the occupation, to end it. Unless we actually do it this way, unless we create the state as a fact on the ground in a positive way, in the way that I'm saying it to you, and in a way that we mean for it to be positive facts on the ground, in response to adversity, in spite of the adversity, to end the adversity. So that 2 years from now, I estimate, technically, and those 2 years happen to mean something politically too, given what everybody must be thinking about politically, because things are linked. Within 2 years from now, I hope, it will not be difficult for anyone to look toward us and come to the conclusions, indeed, the Palestinians do have a state, but for the occupation, if in fact it's still around by then. And if it is, for it to be the only thing that has to change. I mean, if we do that, we'll have succeeded. That's our message. It's a progressive message. It's a positive message. It is independent of what might be said by way of detraction or distraction here, there, or everywhere. Now, on the Israeli side, the potatoes consist of also things that make sense relative to the key deliverable of the peace process, ending the occupation, words of George W. Bush, ending the occupation that began in 6-7, and the establishment of independent, viable, sovereign Palestinian state roadmap language, alongside the state of Israel peace and security. That's what it is. Relative to that objective, focusing on governance as a key requirement, the potatoes on the Palestinian side, makes sense. Similarly, with the obligations of the potatoes on the Israeli side being comprehensive settlement freeze, it makes perfect sense. Why? Where is that Palestinian state going to emerge if settlement activity were to continue? Obligations of the Israeli side also include, importantly, stopping military incursions in areas under security control Palestinian Authority. That too also makes sense. And now it's compelling. The case for it is compelling, with us having succeeded so remarkably in establishing law and order in the West Bank uniformly throughout all urban areas in the West Bank, at a time when not many people gave us much of a chance to do so. So we have made progress, given emphasis and focus on the requirements for success. I believe that's what's new.
That's very good.
And I think that's what we really should all unite and support. You know, focusing on the elements of success, because we're just not going to get there in one leap by wishful thinking.
Do you
we
feel,
need to build toward that.
Do you feel that, it was very well said, do you feel that the